Once you have commissioned a new battery bank, there will be default settings applied by the SMA system to how the batteries are handled, but it is best to review all of these settings and make any changes that are necessary. So we will start off by moving forward to Settings, Battery, and then Properties. So property will be the basic battery properties. We can see flooded lead acid is the choice, the amp hour capacity is 1328, and the voltage, nominal voltage of the bank is 48 volts. These settings you can't change, they're part of the commissioning process. The only way you can change these settings, that is type, capacity, and nominal voltage, is to recommission the system entirely, or the batteries entirely. Right, going down to the next setting, we can set temperatures where the system will shut down as a protection if the batteries exceed a certain temperature, and a resumption temperature. These are very high temperatures for flooded lead acid. We typically move them down to a shut-off at 35 and a restart at 30. Then the battery wire resistance, this is by default set at 0. We usually find with good battery cabling that 3 to 4 milliohms is the correct setting. This can be calculated using a multimeter based on voltage and current. You can calculate the overall resistance, but if you can't do that step, then we suggest defaulting to 3 milliohms. Then there are temperatures for starting a battery fan if you have such, and that is the last setting. Now going back takes us to the next menu option, which is charge mode. Select that, and here we can set certain parameters, such as the maximum current that we are going to allow the batteries to charge at, which typically should be 10 to 15% of the amp hour rating of the battery bank. Then the boost charge absorption time. Typically we use 120 minutes, that's a 2-hour boost. And the number of hours for absorption is 5 for a full charge. 10 for an equalization charge. The frequency of full charge, 14 days, which is a default, and the equalization at 180 days. Now, we usually configure for 56 days, in other words, 8 weeks. And we can roll that button. The numbers can move around quite quickly. "56 days, that's 8 weeks, and we accept that. Now we can set the charge voltages for the various phases. For boost charge, 2.4 volts, depending on your battery type. 2.4 volts is a good default. Full charge, 2.45. We usually use 2.5. Equalization charge, you can always get the screen back just by clicking the knob. Equalization charge, we normally set at 2.55. And then lastly, float voltage. Let's just get that screen back. Float voltage, we usually select 2.27 volts. There is a temperature compensation, which we don't normally change, from the 4 millivolts per degree centigrade. And we keep the auto equalization charge. That means the system will do an equalization charge at the prescribed interval, being 56 days in this case. And that's it. Your batteries are now set for the day-to-day operation, charging, and various maintenance charging cycles.